This is part two in regards to that video, single individual traveling alone and how to overcome your fear. I think one of the biggest problems associated with traveling anywhere in the world is that unknown. Most people, if they haven't done a lot of traveling when they were young, and then they get to like my age in the 50s, where it becomes very hard to pack your bags and go someplace on your own. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to navigate traveling if you're doing it as a sole traveler. So the first thing that you need to do is do some research. Research, research, and research. I cannot emphasize that strongly enough. The more you research, the more comfortable you are with the community, and then it eliminates some of the fear. So one of the things that I would say is make sure that yes, you do the vaccinations, you do the recommendation that is put out by whatever your ministry is in regards to health and well-being. Register with the embassy in your country so that people are going to know if they're able to get, they needed to get a hold of you, where you would be, your itinerary. Go to the bank, let them know that you will be traveling, so therefore there will be more hits on your credit card. There's nothing worse than being in the middle of nowhere and not being able to access much needed financial resources. So those are some basic things that you need to do. The other thing that I would suggest is before you plan your trip, that join an expat group. There's like expat of Nigeria, Ghana, Toronto, expats of England. There's basically an expat group for any country you're interested in traveling. So I would suggest join one of those, and the members are usually super friendly, willing to answer almost any questions that you want, that you pose. And that would be a good resource about housing, about vaccination, especially now during the quarantine time. What are the restrictions, how to navigate yourself. So that would be another suggestion I have, is to join an online expats group. If you've never traveled before, don't be afraid. Individual traveling, solo traveling, it's not for everyone, but I can tell you that it's very rewarding. Once you have done the first one, you will be hooked and you will never ever want to travel with another human being again for the rest of your life. So, one of the things that I would also suggest is that you Google the area that you are interested in visiting and have a look at the community, have a look at the culture, the norms. There's a lot of stuff right now on YouTube. Google is like my best friend when it comes to researching. um, that's the good thing about all of these video bloggers, that there's somebody out there that is doing almost any country you're interested in. So do some research on YouTube and find out a little bit about the area that you're willing to, you want to go to. The other suggestion that I would have about solo traveling is about making a plan. So you make a plan and you say, okay, I want to go to, for instance, Madagascar. I've never been to Madagascar, so I go to Google and I do a little bit of research about Madagascar, about the food, the cultural, the social norms, so that I'm a little bit aware. Then I go online again and I do research on who is offering flights to Madagascar. So what is the high season? What is the low season? What are the TripAdvisor recommendation around the best time to travel? I do that research. Once I've done that research, then I start looking for tickets. Try to book my tickets within 3 months of me going to travel, because the more time you have before you travel, the likelihood is the cheaper the ticket would be. Then once I have that information about the ticket, I have my vaccination, or I know what is required via vaccination. I know what is required via COVID around mask, social distancing, all of that type of stuff. So I'm good to go. So now I need to do that mind piece. I need to do that face the fear piece. So the fear is about, the unknown. I don't know if I'll be able to find oatmeal. I don't know if I'll be safe. I don't know if I can drink the water. I don't know, the don't knows. And I think for most people, the don't knows are the reasons why they never get on a plane. It's the reason why they never live their life with blessing and grace. So if you do not have what it takes right now, and I'm not saying you never will have it, to make that leap and take a huge, trip around the world or to some exotic country, what I may suggest is take a trip within your own country. So find a province, a state, a territory within your own country that you have never traveled to. Pack a trip, book a trip, call a travel agent, figure out how to do it. So some trips you can do via your car, you can do your RV, and some of them you might actually have to get on a plane to go do. But I would suggest start in your own country where you can use your own mother native language to navigate. That will probably be less overwhelming. So once you've done that trip and you've analyzed it and you've figured out, well, you know what, it wasn't so bad. Yes, I had some hiccups here and there, but I was able to overcome it. So then, you take another step and then you say, okay, what is my neighboring country? So, if I'm in Canada, I'll go to the United States. And the beauty of the United States is there are several states for me to explore. So, and each one is as different as the other. And the other beauty of being the border and the friends with the United States is that I can get into my car, my RV, and I can go to the United States. And I have done that many times. I have done RV, I've taken my car, and I've traveled across Canada and across the United States. And I've had some of the most outstanding KOA campground type of experiences. I've also flown into the United States, done the hotel route, I've done the bed and breakfast, I've done the hotel, I've done the hostel. I've done it all when it comes to the different places you can stay as a single traveler. But I think the biggest fear factor for a lot of people is what their mind tells them versus the reality of what exists. And I think the mindset is based on things you have heard in the media, things you have other people have told you. I remember my very first time going to Colombia, and I went to get my international driver's license. And when I told a woman that I was going to Cartagena, first of all, she didn't even know where Cartagena was, but she had all this advice to give me about safety in Colombia, and she's never been there. She has never left Canada. So it was interesting because her perspective was Colombia is a dangerous place, and in order for me to be safe, she was like, "Why not go to someplace in the United States, or why not go to someplace where drugs is not involved?" And I basically was asking her, "Where in the world can you go that drugs is not an issue, right?" And had I let her fear become my fear, I probably would have not never gotten on the plane. So the bottom line is people are going to give you their crappy experiences, or they're going to highlight stuff that is said in the media on a regular basis. And if you allow that to factor into your own fear, then you will never get off the couch. You will never leave. So basically, what I'm saying to you is face the fear by doing something small and then build upon that. So do something in your community. Go out for a weekend getaway in the wine region, or go camping, or do something that you wouldn't normally do. Take yourself out of that comfort zone. Simulate some of the fear that you might have to experience when you travel. I mean, I remember going to Wangwi, which is like Tarapoto, and it's the other part of the Amazon in Peru. And I had never been there. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I had a general overview about that part of Peru because I've spent a lot of time in Peru, but I didn't know what to expect in the Amazon. And when I got there, there's no hotels, there's no running water, the piranhas in the river, and there are different things that I had to learn to navigate that wasn't explained to me. Did I have a wonderful time? It was one of the best vacations I've ever had, and I would highly recommend it. But the thing about going to Wanghui or going to the Amazon is that you have to be prepared mentally for what you're going to experience. Because if you're looking for five-star hotel, it just doesn't exist. I mean, if you are flexible and you're willing to live with one of the families, and you're willing to just kind of get off the plane and take a bus and go find out what is out there for you, then you will most likely find someone that you can travel with, or you can find people who are willing to help you navigate it. Some of the most amazing um, landscape and species and experiences await you in, in the Amazon and different parts of the world. So as a single individual, I think it's very important that you have that plan, that if you're going to have issues with diabetic, or you have able body issues, or that kind of stuff, do some research, find out about, like, for instance, if you're going to Colombia and you're in a wheelchair, because of how the slopes of the sidewalk, you may have a difficulty as a person in a wheelchair in Colombia. So you may have to adapt your wheelchair in order for you to go for a vacation there. So don't let the fact that, the sidewalks is 6 foot tall prevent you from going. It just means that you will have to come up with an alternative to your normal everyday walker or wheelchair. You might have to come up with a assisted device in order for you to do that. So, the other thing about it is, take the time to listen to what that fear is, understand where it's coming from. Once you understand what the fear is, then you're able to face it. I think some of the most incredible experiences I've had as a single traveler has been the experiences not planned. I remember a time when I went to the Galapagos Island, and on my way back, the transportation, I was going from the Galapagos Island, and I was going through Bolivia and heading the way to Chile. And every single transportation mode of transportation I booked, when I got there, the book said they came at 5 o'clock. It turned out that they came at 5 p.m., not 5 in the morning, or that they operated 2 days a week. Turned out that they operated one time a week. So I had to be flexible. I had to adapt. The beauty of all of that is I wasn't carrying 15 luggage. I was carrying just a backpack, so I was able to kind of pivot with things as they change. I ended up having to take a train ride and the top of a train, and to cross over to where I wanted to go. Now, if I'd allowed my fear to prevent me from getting on that train, because it was like, oh my gosh, it's the middle of the night, I'm a woman, there's no other women traveling on this train, what am I going to do? Well, the bottom line was, I got on the train and I made sure that my backpack was right beside me, that I didn't have any money in my pockets, that I had nothing that if you were going to steal from me, that a value, I had nothing of value to lose. I attached my backpack string to me, so if I happened to fall asleep, you literally would have to pull me as you are pulling the backpack. So those are some of the safety tips that I do when I'm traveling. But again, as I said, being a sole female traveler should never be a reason why you do not go to Australia, or you do not go to Timbuktu, or you don't go to Benin or Nigeria. And do not let the things that people say about a country, like, Americans with Cuba, the perspective that they're given with, because of the blockade, you only hear one perspective of Cuba. Cuba is one of the most incredible experiences you can have. The people are incredible, and the beauty of the beaches, you'll not find any more beautiful beaches in the world than you will find in Cuba. But if you allow your fear to set in, then you're going to go, oh my gosh, communism, how am I going to manage? So you cross it off the list without giving it a try. So again, what I say is, start small. Plan, make a plan, use Google, do your research, talk to your travel agents. They're also paid to kind of go out and figure out the communities, to make recommendations. So they're usually, wonderful when it comes to um, helping you navigate and, make that decision about the best hotel or the best tour packages. The other thing is, if you're not comfortable traveling alone, there's so many tours that you can do. I personally don't like tours because I don't like to be, 10 cities in 8 days, and they just kind of throw everything at you, and you just have to deal with, when you want to go, bathroom breaks are scheduled. I don't want that. I want to kind of just wander around the city and let my nose take me to the bakery, the panaderia, or take me to that stream that's off the beaten path. So I have no fear, and I believe in humankind. So I believe that wherever you go in the world, there's always going to be someone willing to help you wherever whenever you run into difficulties. So that's how I navigate the world. I navigate the world from a positive mindset, where I don't expect to be robbed at the, I feel less safe in my own home country than I feel in other countries I've traveled. I don't know why, but that's the reality for me. Probably racism has something to do with it. But yeah, anyway, that's another topic for another day. But bottom line is, if you're going to travel alone, what I'm going to suggest to you is that you take the time to do the research, make a plan, make sure you register with your embassy, make sure you take the vaccination, let your family know when you're traveling. If something comes up where you would change your plan, you know, send a WhatsApp message home to let them know where you're going to be. You see on Facebook many times people are posting this person is missing because the person just went off the beaten path and they never told anybody. Some people have been found dead because of that, and other people, because of Facebook, have been able to say, oh yeah, I saw blah 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 crossing over the border and so forth. So make sure that you register, that you tell family where you're going to be, and if it's not family, just tell a friend. The other thing is, what I try and do is, whenever I switch places, I do a video. I do a quick video to say, hey, I'm in this such and such country. I'm at this location. And I just leave it on my phone. So if something ever happens and you find my phone, at least you can say this is the breadcrumb towards finding her. But I don't even think you need to even go to that extent, where you need to be thinking about those kinds of things happening. So the bottom line for me is this: there is fear associated not only with travel, but any life change. It's inevitable. We all have that instinct within us where it's about fight or flight, and it's there to protect us. So I believe that if you do not let the flight, and take you let let's say, I believe that if you do not let the fight take over and you go to the flight. Now, maybe that's not exactly what I mean. Maybe what I'm trying to say is this: in order for you to live the life, like live your best life, there are times you're going to have to take chances, and you're just going to have to trust yourself. Trust in yourself is the first part about getting over some of your fears. If you're traveling with children and you share custody, it ends up being a little bit more difficult because sometimes those partners do not want to give you access to your children. So, as an end result, you are not able to go. So I think you have to then have a conversation with that partner, and you got to negotiate what's going to happen. I have friends who are exes and they travel together just because they want to be able to travel with their children, and it's the only way for them to do it. So they book their holidays with their exes, and they manage to then navigate it. I don't know how that works, but for some people, it's an alternative. I have other friends who, they go online and they basically look for people to billet them when they're traveling solo. So there's a online group for solo travelers or free accommodation, and they go through there. Another way to travel alone is if you do one of those work away kind of work experiences, where you can then go and do some volunteer work, for say 4 days a week in the morning, and then you have the afternoon. So at least you, even though you're traveling alone, you're going to a specific area with someone that can help, you to navigate the community before you go off and do your own solo travel. The other thing is, once you're traveling alone, don't take chances, in a new country you're not willing to take at home. So if you know in your own country you're not about to leave home with a stranger and go to a club or go off to track, the off the beaten path, don't do it. Right, your safety is most important. So in order for you to enjoy your trip, you have to be prepared, but you also have to be prepared mindset. Right, the mindset is the most important thing. And if you're going to travel and you're going to take risk, then I would suggest that you travel from your couch via the YouTube, because it makes no sense to me that you are going to go to a country and do things that you wouldn't normally do when you're home. So again, in order for you to live your life in in blessing and grace, you have to sometimes come out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself to do something that you wouldn't normally do otherwise. So, peace.